one of the things that was actually I was kind of surprised that it went into was the Twin Galaxies lawsuit that that you were included in when it was later settled. You said, they asked you, the producer asked you, do you feel like that lawsuit hurt your reputation? And you very bluntly said, yeah, I do. Can you walk us through kind of the ins and outs of that, how that came about, and just everything that went along with that?
Well, it's a long, complicated process. See, I watched all the players play years ago, and so I had a sense of who was doing what and how good they were. And Billy was accused of using MAME on his Donkey Kong scores.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen him in action. I knew he could do the scores. He had the skill set. And two, he was an advocate. He was very much against MAME and spoke openly about MAME, not liking MAME or wanting to support MAME. So I knew that he didn't mess around with MAME. And so from my perspective, and also they think he did some magical computer programming to invent some new level of MAME playing an arcade cabinet. And I knew he did not have that skill set. In fact, no one had that skill set. It wasn't being done. So from my perspective, I didn't think that he cheated. So it was my testimony that I believed he didn't cheat. So when that happened, Twin Galaxies decided to make it more difficult for Billy to be able to finance his lawsuit by suing me and Billy in conjunction in a countersuit to put him under pressure. I had one guy call up and tell me, look, I talked to Jace. He says Billy drops the lawsuit against him, and I dropped the lawsuit against you. So it was actually a stunt to put Billy under financial and moral pressure so that he would drop the suit against the Twin Galaxies. But he didn't drop it. He continued onward. And eventually Twin Galaxies, knowing they had no ability to actually have the suit go to court, just dropped it.
Right. So you sold Twin Galaxies to Jace Hall, right? And I'm just curious, like, in hindsight, would you do anything differently to kind of, for lack of a better word, like maintain the integrity of the organization while you still owned it? Like maybe a submission process or something along those lines that to where none of this would ever happen? Do you have any regrets or would have done things differently?
Well, I had actually been out of Twin Galaxies for some years because I was trying to do the music for some years.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of things happened that I wouldn't have done. Like they started charging for scores and stuff like that. Back around 2008 or 2009. And but essentially, it was complicated how to verify scores.
Right.
First, when we first started verifying scores, we'd have people send in a photograph of the video game screen showing the score and have a signed affidavit from witnesses and also the arcade management. And that went on for a little while before we realized that that wasn't working, because the arcades were having difficulty surviving, and they knew that when someone got a high score that was a world record on a game, they could get a local news story and get free publicity from the newspaper. Mm-hmm. So arcade management all over the place began to exaggerate scores or falsify scores, and they're close friends with the guys with the score. They're willing to sign off on their friends too. So mm-hmm. essentially the process of doing photographs and affidavits didn't work. So we got into eventually the videotaping scores. However, that still was a problem because people could do all sorts of tricks and gimmicks in different ways that they could get around the gameplay and falsify a score. So it was a ongoing, difficult process. So we started having referees who'd be experts on the games, except that caused problems then, because when you submitted a score in game X, the person who had the knowledge to know whether or not you cheated or not is your rival, who's also trying to get the high score in game X.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to show all your hard-earned secrets to that guy. So that became a problem. It just was a difficult process all the way through, and it was a struggle. But I sincerely was trying to keep the integrity in the process, even though I was faced by these never-ending challenges.
Right.
But we do it right now. It seems to be the best way, and I take my hat off to Jace Hall, and we'll see how it goes. Twin Galaxies is not a big organization. It's a small community,
right.
But it seemed to be a devoted community. So I take my hat off to them.
There's a scene in the movie where you think you're at a community, like a community college or a university or something, and they do a presentation as you being the father of esports, and you take off your ref outfit and you talk about how that's that was you retiring or your first step in retirement. But I noticed you have it on today. I noticed that during the movie you had it on while you were singing. Is the ref outfit? Is it kind of like a comfort mechanism for you, or is it just how you feel comfortable because you've worn it so much, or do you envision a day where you just take off the ref outfit altogether?
Well, actually, it is comfortable on me, and I'm so used to it. And it's really interesting what happens when I put it on. It completely changes the brainwaves of everybody else in the room because I become something else in their mind and in their emotions. And it's a really interesting process. I've seen it again and again and again. I'm Walter, and suddenly I'm not Walter. And this larger than life imagery. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's actually an effect that happened.
It's like a costume almost.
A costume.
Yes.
And essentially, I was symbolically and spiritually letting everybody in the room know. I was viewing them as being representatives. See, there were like 300 kids there. There were like 40 esports teams there or something like that from schools and colleges all over the region. And so essentially what I was doing is I was passing on the spirit of all the work that I'd done for all those years and giving it to them, like passing on the baton for them to carry it forward into the future. And that was the sense that I was hoping to evoke at the time that I was doing that. And I don't know how clear that came across, but that was the sense of what was trying to be done at that moment. Mm-hmm. The reason I still have the referee on is because the referee shirt on now is because even though I'm retired from being the referee, there still is a continuity that helps tell the story. Like if I was worried, see, when I go out to the Q&As at movie premieres, I wear my music outfit that I played in during the show, and I don't wear the referee here.
Sure.
But when I get paid to go to like an event, like a huge arcade expo or something, I would wear this outfit, the referee outfit.
Right. Well, we only got you for a couple more minutes. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you your thoughts on Billy's ruling over Carl Jobst and the judgment that came down there. Obviously, you're close to Billy. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm 76. I'm trying to not sue anybody. I'm trying to not be sued by anybody. So I just plan on just smoothly going through life and not be involved in lawsuits. Billy's a warrior. He's involved in lawsuits. And he essentially, Carl Jobst unfairly accused him of being responsible for the suicide of another YouTuber. And Billy said, I didn't do it. But Carl Jobst, even though he was given evidence that Billy was guilty, doubled down and continued to defame Billy. So Billy sued him. And then Carl Jobst turned the tables on Billy and portrayed the lawsuit as being about Billy allegedly cheating. Mm-hmm. And so that was what the judge, the judge was able to go through all the stuff and say, this is not about cheating. This is all about the defamation of Billy allegedly being responsible for this other YouTuber committing suicide. And so, but Carl had been raising money. If I have this right, Carl had been raising money from people who were led to believe that he was fighting Billy because of Billy's alleged reputation for suing. So Carl Jobst he's in a lot of difficulties, I think.
Yeah.
I wish him the best. I'm sure that, well, we'll see how it turns out for him. But yeah. I'm not a part of that lawsuit. I just watch it from a distance like everybody else in the world. But it's very interesting how much the two lawsuits Billy was in with Twin Galaxies and with Carl Jobst have become precedent-setting lawsuits that are now quoted or used as precedent in other lawsuits around the world. So it's very interesting. World-famous lawsuits, actually.
Your dad said you should watch this next video, and you don't want to disappoint Dad, do you?